They're dead, Dave.
What, Captain Hollister?
Everybody's dead, Dave.
What, Todd Hunter? What, Selby? Not Chen.
He's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead. Everybody is dead, Dave.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Everybody's Dead, Dave, our Red Dwarf review podcast featuring myself, Adam Martyn, and as always, my co-host.
That's me, Philip Hawkins. Hello.
That is him. And today, it's a landmark moment today, really, isn't it, Phil? Because we have reached Series 8.
The end of an era.
Episode 8, the final episode of what I believe you veterans call the BBC era?
Yeah,
would we say?
I think that's an accurate description.
Yeah,
yes, the BBC
or the
era.
original run, or some would argue maybe that ended after Series 6 with the break. Who, you know, it's up in the air, I guess.
I would still lump them all together. You know, there's this like just over 10-year period where this, you know, because when was it starting? 88,
I think it was.
Yeah. So this 12-year period. No, it's 11-year period where all these series fit into, and they're all on the BBC.
Yeah. The end of an era, nonetheless. It's mad that we've actually reached it over, I think, recording just over a year and a few months, I think.
Year and a couple of months, yeah.
Yeah. And funnily enough, there's 52 weeks in a year, Phil. And obviously we've had breaks and stuff, but would you believe this episode is actually episode 52?
Yeah, wow.
I know. Out of, I think, about 78 as it currently stands. So that's a rough... Oh, that's 26. Okay, 2/3. That's 2/3, technically. If you want to break it down, bit of quick maths, I've probably got that wrong. But anyway, Only the Good is the title of this episode, and the synopsis is as follows. Life isn't going too well for our friends on the Dwarf as they reside in the tank, made even worse as an escape pod containing a genetically engineered virus that eats metal arrives and begins to destroy Red Dwarf. Dun dun dun. That's a finale setup if I ever heard one, isn't it? So, kicking off Only the Good. We get one of these like little opening crawls. Well, it's not really a crawl, like an opening title shot, don't we, with text?
Yeah, text message kind of thing, like a computer is bringing up information.
Did it make you chuckle? Because I think with things like that, where it's just text doing the comedy work, I think it can, depending on, obviously, everything, you know, context, what it says. Did it work for you?
Yeah, I would say, I liked the bit about this spelling errors, because it types out something, and then it deletes it, and then it retypes it again, spelled correctly, and then on the next line it mentions that the virus that it had compromised the ship it came from, was affecting lots of critical systems, including spell check. Which, if that happened in real life, I think we'd all be a bit buggered, because I think we all use spell check more than we realise. I know I certainly do. Yeah.
But we go onto the ship itself, and Captain Hollister, probably been one of our favourite characters this season, I think it's fair in saying, he's not very well. He's got yellow fever, he's in bed, and he's not doing
he's
too
not
good.
In the hole, as he said he was going to. Now, some fans, this is a fan theory, that it's not confirmed on screen, therefore surmise that this episode takes place 12 months after the last one. So the captain has gone into the hole, got over his PTSD by being secluded for 12 months, and has come out. And that would, in fairness, that would also explain why Rimmer is on parole, because
I was going to say,
there was no sign of him being on parole in the last episode, and now suddenly he's on parole. So that kind of does also indicate that maybe some time has passed.
I'd agree with that, because I remembered you'd said that from last week's episode, and just when they mentioned about being on parole or probation and all that scene later in the episode, it made me think, and I think it just has that vibe. You get the vibe that they've now been, you know, around doing this for quite a while. So yeah, I'd lean into that theory. Why not?
Yeah.
And Hollister in this scene, I think he's great as ever, even the moments where he's not speaking, when he's just shooting Rimmer, like, you know, the odd look or whatever. I just think the actor who plays him is very good at. He just knows that character and how sardonic he can be. So I was loving it from the get go. Talia arrives. Was it Talia?
Yeah,
his girlfriend or wife. Yeah, and they determine that the nanobots must have resurrected her. Right? That's what they say.
Well,
they
do say that, and I don't quite get the logic of this, because she has come, as we find out later, she's definitely come from the escape pod, which came from another ship.
Yes.
So the nanobots resurrected a whole other ship? as well as Red Dwarf?
Inside Red Dwarf? What?
Where was this other ship at the time? What would it have not? Like, what's going on there?
Is it a bit of loose Red Dwarf continuity as we've had? If there's something glaringly obvious we're missing, by the way, please let us know in the comments. But yeah, I agree with you. Like they sort of said it's like, oh, you must have got resurrected by nanobots as well. I was like, right, okay, yeah, just a bit odd. But it's not the last we see of Talia. But we'll get there when we get there.
She is someone who's from the captain's past. We know that at this point.
We do.
And Rimmer makes some lewd intuitions that something's going to happen when he leaves the room. And
yes, and well, you could say sadly or not, it's not the last lewd saying or joke that we see.
I did. What did make me laugh in this scene, though, I did like the line from Rimmer where he says, "Shall I leave the photo of your wife where it is, or shall I turn it the other way, sir, before I go?"
Yeah, that was a clever line. Nice and slick. But as Rimmer leaves, he does. I love this as well. He tries the old coin in the vending machine trick, which I've never actually tried in real life. I don't know if you have, Phil.
Well, obviously not. I am not a thief. I am completely above the law, and would never incriminate myself on a podcast like that.
But off the record, if we.
I have no idea if this would work. Does this work? Would this work? I mean, I imagine nowadays they probably maybe
not
would work in
days.
some old 80s, 90s vending machines.
Because that must be where the joke comes from. The fact that at some point you could do this. But
or it's one of those urban myths that you could do it and it never really worked.
And it never actually happened, yeah.
Yeah, if you in air quotes,
if you saw someone do it, saw someone do it.
If you've seen someone do this, someone else in inverted commas, let us know in the comments below.
But of course, it's not just a regular vending machine. It's an alive vending machine, or one with a personality, I should say. And I don't know about you, Phil. I love this vending machine.
Ah, brilliant! Yeah,
great character. I mean, I love the bit where after he's trying to alert people that he's trying to steal. And then there's that bit where the captain comes along, gives him his tray back. And then after the captain leaves, he says,
"You are my nemesis. One day our paths will cross again, and I will destroy you."
It's a vending... I don't know, it just really got me. I loved it.
It is great. It's played by Toby Slattery, who has voiced a character in Red Dwarf before. Not a vending machine, but an android on the Australian soap opera Androids from the episode Crichton,
from way back in series 2.
Absolutely. Wow. So he's been in it before. I'm trying to remember that it was a very Australian name as well that he played. Where is it? Oh yeah, he played Brooke. The voice of Brooke
in Androids.
Yeah, in Androids,
parodying Neighbours, of course. Oh god, that feels so far away now. And he came back 10 years later to voice the vending machine in one episode, but he does it very well. And but this is what Rimmer's getting up to. As you said, he's on parole. He's basically serving the captain. The others don't seem as lucky.
Yeah, why has he gotten parole and they haven't?
Yeah, you would have thought out of all 4 of them, I wouldn't have thought Rimmer would have been, especially if the captain chose. I'd like to think Rimmer would be the last of the 4 he'd pick to be around, because he genuinely is annoyed by him. We see that he doesn't like being around him. So, but it's one of those Red Dwarf things I think that we're never going to get an explanation for.
No.
But hey, if it sets up Rimmer having a vending machine as a nemesis, I'm all here for it. I'll forgive anything. But they're not doing too good. They're talking about all the work they're doing. Cat talking about rocks, but not mining rocks as in a prison. He's got to change the rock album every 45 minutes.
Yes,
which...
I did like the fact that they led into that. He's going on about rocks and having to move rocks and stuff, and you think he's making him slave away in the mining bits. And
yes,
I think they left that just about the right amount of time. To then reveal that he's talking about changing the album on
a really good Cat setup joke. Who thought we'd get one this series? Right out of the bag, we get one.
There was some good use of Cat in this episode, actually.
There was, especially in a scene later on, but we'll get there.
The episode's never about him, but it feels like he's more there. He's got some more decent stuff rather than just coming in with a single punchline.
Yeah, like they're actually writing full-on jokes for him rather than just like a one-liner.
Yeah.
But then, as Kat ironically leaves the frame, we have Crichton and Lister, and Crichton's got this calendar. And when Lister inquires about it, he's been told that, well, Crichton believes, was it that Kochanski's calendar, or it's the wrong time of the month, is basically the punchline.
Yeah, she's told him it's the wrong time of the month, so he thinks there's a problem with the calendar. The calendar is wrong. The month is wrong on the calendar. We need to change the calendar.
And the minute he said that, in my head I thought, oh no. I was like, are we doing this? And then when Lister whispers in his ear, I thought, yep, we're doing this, aren't we? And sure enough, for any listeners who are thinking, what are you talking about? The very next scene involves Kochanski going back to her bunk. Crichton is there with a banner that says, have a fantastic period. And, yeah. So Phil, as two males, what did you think? What did you think of this whole joke, basically?
You know what? I didn't think it was too bad. I had worse memories of it than I thought it was going to be. I thought the humor, because the humor was mostly around the fact that Crichton is oblivious.
Yes,
and I think it kind of works, and especially when it dawns on him, and he's like, and because Kochanski goes,
Crichton, how can I put this?
Is there something wrong, ma'am? He set me up, didn't he? This is absolutely not what you're supposed to do when a woman is having a... Is the banner wrong, too? He was lying!
We get the Crichton high voice.
yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I don't mind it. What about you?
I agree with you that it's not as, like, I guess, you could say played in a... Well, it's not as bad as some of the stuff like we saw in Crichton TV. I know we keep bringing it up, but it's true. Like you're saying, the fact that it's Crichton's obliviousness softens it a bit. I just think, and it's coming now, folks, I just think the gag did go on for a bit too long. Like, from where the scene starts in Kochanski's bunk, basically. I think, had it ended after, he's got the banner, he's holding the tampon, and you have the few gags about it. But then they just... After that, I was like, okay, I've got it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get the punchline.
Yeah, I do think, I think you're probably right, actually. And the where they go on to, because he's found out that he's been tricked, but then there's another stage where he recites some other stuff that he's clearly been told about, won't you be too busy? Aren't you going to be playing tennis in white trousers? Or
and by that point, I was like, just... we can move on now.
I think if they'd stopped it after the banner and the presents, the tampon present, and that would have probably been the best place to stop it.
Yeah, probably. Because I did worry that, obviously based on what we've seen throughout this series, really, with some of the humour, particularly in Crichton TV, when I realised this was the joke it was going for, I thought, oh no. Like worst case scenario, I thought this is going to be like really juvenile, this is going to be really like... just, not done in like the most smart or tasteful way. But it wasn't, as I said, wasn't as bad as it could have been. But because he's been duped, Crichton and Kochanski decide they're going to get their own back on Lister for doing this. And we cut to the familiar bunk with Rimmer and Lister. They're passing the time.
Before we get to it, like when they're plotting the revenge plan.
Yes.
I found that whole Crichton basically speaking gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Weird, because it's kind of like okay, it's taking the mick out of those scenes where you go, and you don't hear what they're saying, but we can clearly hear what he's saying, and he's saying gobbledygook, but they're not playing it like in universe. He's clearly not saying gobbledygook because Kochanski is nodding along like he's saying real words, and I just found that whole bit really weird. And
it did feel a bit out of...
This doesn't work.
It just felt a bit out of joint, because it's like... Yeah, and also, I'd argue it would have been funny if Crichton had just said the plan, because we know how funny Robert Llewellyn is, and obviously if he was saying this, like, ridiculous plan, that probably would have been funny. But yeah, like you're saying, the fact he's openly speaking gobbledygook, not quietly, and Kochanski's nodding it, it just sort of happens, and then you're like, all right, okay. Very bizarre. But apparently in that gobbledygook plan is to basically dob Lister and Rimmer in, but they're passing the time. But Holly gets in touch because he's got some hot gossip.
Yeah, it's good to see Holly.
It is always good to see Norman Lovett as Holly. And the gossip is they've got a bunk inspection in 10 minutes. And I love how proud he is that he knows this really important hot gossip. He's like, he got a bunk inspection in 10 minutes. And then I love after the guard comes in and says it, again, like how smug he is. He's like, you see, I'm patched in.
And he's
I just
only
thought that
given
was really great.
an extra 30 seconds warning on what they would have had anyway.
Yeah, the whole setup, it was great. Like Norman Lovett's delivery, and then obviously mainly Rimmer's reaction as well. Typical like Rimmer sarcasm. It was a really neat joke. I liked it. I also like the little niche joke about when they're talking about scars and things like that, and Rimmer talks about his scar from Jewel,
oh yes,
or a Jewel, and of course Lister's like, what, an actual fighting Jewel? He's like, no, I got battered with the video case of the Steven Spielberg. I don't know why, maybe just appeals to my like really niche nerd stuff, but I just found that really funny.
I'd never heard of this Steven Spielberg film. So when he first said it, I was like, is the joke that he has misremembered what? Because obviously this is 3 million years in the future, and he's done this. They've done these jokes before where he's misremembered pop culture from our time, and got it wrong. So I wondered if it was like, are they misremembering Jaws? Is he trying to say Jaws, but he's coming out Jewel? Yeah. But no, apparently it's a real film. I just never heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it myself, but I think it was. I think he either made that just before or just after Jaws. I'm tempted to say just before, because Jaws, I think, was Steven Spielberg's breakthrough, wasn't it? If I've got my film history
possibly,
right,
or
I think.
Maybe his big budget breakthrough, possibly. I don't know. It's
That's
1971 was Jewel, according to IMDb.
Oh, that was before Jaws then, because Jaws was 75.
Okay,
if I've got my dates right, but I need to watch that. I need to get on my list. But then they find a note from Crichton, which I love when Lister reads it. Obviously, he's reading it as Lister, but you can tell it's written by Crichton if you get like the way he uses like the language and stuff. And I love that. I just love how typical Crichton it is. But he's set them up. He's taken Baxter's personally made hooch. We all remember hooch, those of us at a certain age. Not that hooch, but a much worse hooch. And he's
the Alco Pops.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Come on, we've all drank hooch at one point when we thought it was cool.
Yes, I think on the scale of alcoholic drinks, that has probably, like, Alco Pops have probably the least amount of alcohol in them. And then, like, this type of hooch blows your head off.
Was something else, yeah. But he's put this hooch in their bunk, and of course, having any sort of alcohol is, I guess, illegal or, like, not allowed. So they instantly scramble. Now, this scene, Phil, I don't know about you, I just from top to bottom, I love this scene. The minute they realize what's going on, I love it. Yeah, everything about
the mad
it.
Scramble, the when they find it, trying to work out what to do with it, because they start tipping it down the sink, and then their tank gets full. So then they have to drink it.
Yes, and the reactions, the way. The physical, again, we always praise these guys for how like good they are, like physically as actors, but the reactions I thought were fantastic. I couldn't stop chuckling at them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their logic was here. Probably none, because they were in panic. But like, even if they drank it all, how were they going to explain the bottles, which would still clearly smell of alcohol?
Yeah, like what were they going to do with the bottles and all that sort of stuff? But I just love that, like the slow descent, and then I love. For once, I'm happy that the joke carries on. Like, I love the moment where they're both sat down at the table, but then Lister just crashes to the floor. Like, it's because, let's face it, we've all either been or seen someone like that when they're so drunk they can't even sit properly. Their body weight just falls all over the place. Or just
the room is spinning around.
Yeah.
You know, in my case, once the pavement.
Oh no. We've all been there. No shame.
We've all been there.
We've of a certain age, of course. Drink responsibly.
Yes, anyone over 18 has been there.
Yes, we've been there. It's rite of passage. So then, they're buggered. They've got no option. And then Ackerman comes in, which really made me smile, because I think it was earlier in this season I actually named him one of my favourite characters. I could be wrong in the episode he was in. But I love this guy. I don't know what it is, just the performance I really like. What did you think about Ackerman coming back right at the end of the season?
Yeah, it's good to see him again. And it's another great scene for him. I love it when he's like, he knows they're drunk, obviously. He can see they're drunk. He can smell the alcohol. and he's just getting them to like admit it, and they're like, "No, I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk." And I love the way he gets them to admit it as well. He just asks, "Anyone for a kebab?" And they're like, "Yeah." Oh, crap.
Again, been there. So that was very relatable.
I'm more of a cheesy chips drunk.
Oh, are you? I see. Yeah. Anything to help soak it up, mate.
Yeah.
That's what I say. But yeah, and when he says that, Rimmer's response, he just faints, and there's a great crash on the floor. Whether that was the sound he genuinely made or like a sound effect, it was a great crashing sound. And Lister just falls asleep on him, as a lot of drunk people do. Again, been there. So as they're taken to the medibay, we go to the canteen where Kat, Kachansky, and Crichton are having their food, and Baxter's here, and Baxter's not happy because obviously his hooch is gone, and he comes up to him and says, "Well, when I see him, I'm going to do this," and he takes 2 bread rolls and crushes them. To which Kat remarks, "You're going to squeeze their rolls," which I must admit I didn't find that funny really as a one-liner. That was
no, it's the typical. It's the typical Cat joke. He gets some other good stuff in this episode, but he does also have this kind of typical Cat doesn't quite get what's really happening, states something that's like what he sees.
And sometimes is funny, sometimes isn't funny. But on the warning of this, Crichton and Kachansky sneak into the medibay, which apparently has low security. Crichton sticks a bunch of blue tack on his face, and Kachansky has a pan on her head, which really made me laugh. Because I was like, oh yeah, that works, doesn't it?
Yeah. What I don't get is why they just like faked their injuries, but Kat felt the need to like get actually injured. He's like trying to get injured to get in there. But they just walked in and faked their injuries. Why couldn't it be done the same?
But on this scene with Kat actually going the lengths to try and like get genuinely hurt, what did you think of this scene then? Because this devotes quite a lot of time to like Kat and this whole plan.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. It was very predictable. Like as soon as the scene started and he started nicking that guy's chips, I was like, I think I know where this is going to go. And I'm not saying that because I've seen it before. Because I couldn't remember this scene. I have no memory of this scene before, even though I have watched it before. That was a long time ago. But I kind of just think, well, this is the inevitable outcome of this scene.
Yes.
And it was. So
I must
admit, a little bit
though,
predictable.
When Kat's like squaring up to the guy, I found that quite good stuff. Like it's a different side to Kat. I never thought I'd hear. Oh, I guess I can say it once. I never thought I'd hear Kat call someone a bitch.
Yeah.
In Red Dwarf, that surprised me. But that, like, I liked it on the whole. But then when we get the reveal that the guy he's stealing food from is actually like he will become Cat's slave basically and do whatever he says and all that, I thought they laboured on that a little bit too long, just a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
and it
once
was
we
very
got the twist, like the shift of it. Although I do believe that actor, I can't remember his name. He looked familiar. I think he's one of the Slitheen in Doctor Who.
Is he? What's he? Is it Big Meat? Is that his name?
Oh, is that the character's? Bless him.
I think.
Let's go with that. Yeah, I think he plays
played by David Verry.
I can't remember what. I think it's the main. You know, the male Slitheen who acts as Prime Minister in Alien in the Chris Eccleston one.
Oh,
I think it's
it
him.
is. Yes,
I thought I recognised his
played
face.
Joseph Green in World War III and Aliens in London. Aliens in London. There we go.
I thought I recognised that face. Why is his character?
I saw him and recognised him from somewhere, but I did not place it at all.
Yeah. I don't know why he's called Big Meat though, bless him, like in this.
It's just one of those prison nicknames, you know, you get. He's the tough one, he's the big guy in the prison. And
well, I thought Baxter was the tough, but he's just called Baxter. So,
yeah.
And then there's this guy who's like...
Well, he says he's the most feared person he calls himself the most feared person in the prison. So...
Yeah. But then Cat finds his weakness, apparently. But sure enough, Cat doesn't get beat up, and then... the next scene we have is they discover that the microbes that arrived in this escape pod, they're at work. They're gradually eating through the structure of Red Dwarf. And Rimmer straight away is like, we've got to get out of here. Like, we need to leave. Lister being the sort of, well, he isn't always, but in this instance being like the moral compass of the show, is like, no, we've got to go back. We've got to warn everyone, so everyone's got like a fair chance.
Yeah,
and I did quite like that moment because I think we've said for the most part, obviously with a few blips in these last few seasons, Lister has always sort of been like, yeah, he's a slob and he can do like seedy things, but ultimately, like, he is a good guy.
Yeah. Because Crichton
whereas,
kind of tries to insinuate that he's only doing it to impress Kochanski. And while there might be a little...
Oh, do you mean Rimmer?
Was it Rimmer that says that? Oh, yeah, Rimmer says that.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
not Crichton.
No, it's all right. It's all right, yeah.
But he... I don't know. That they don't, like, confirm that or anything in this. It's not like he gets found out or anything. There might be a grain of truth to it, but you kind of get the feeling that he's also still doing it because he thinks it's the right thing. However, it massively backfires on them, of course.
Yeah, because then Captain Hollister does an address to the prisoners of the tank saying, Red Dwarf's going belly up, there's not enough ships, and you're all going to be left here to die.
Yeah, so if they'd just like carried on and stolen the ship and left, they could have, they could have like sent a message back to warn everybody else, but gotten out first.
But no, the goodness backfired on them massively. And we get some pretty decent CG shots of all these starbugs and blue midgets flying away. And the Red Dwarf ship itself, I thought, looked pretty good in this one. Controversially,
I prefer the longer Red Dwarf ship to the short one with the thing on it. I think that's a controversial opinion amongst Red Dwarf fans. I think most people prefer the original. You know, it's the original, but I don't know. I like the long one.
Is it because you get more time to like look at the detail, or do you just like the...
I just think it looks like a nicer ship, and maybe it's not meant to look like a nice ship because it's a mining ship, but it just looks like a nicer ship. There we go. I'm probably gonna get hate mail now from other what do you mean it's the original's the best?
We tend to have a fairly pleasant listener base. I don't think it's to be hateful.
I think so.
So these guys need a plan because obviously they're stuck on Red Dwarf. There's no more ships left. So they reason that to counter, essentially a virus, they need an antidote. And this all happened quite fast for me. So please jump in to correct me if I'm reading this wrong. So they decide they need to find the antidote because it's a virus, and the way to do this is to enter a mirror universe where everything's opposite. So in theory, instead of having the virus, they'll have the antidote.
Yeah, and Kochanski just kind of has that idea, just suddenly.
And they have a machine to just do that?
And they just randomly have a machine already built that does that, and all the knowledge to very quickly whip one up. And it's really weird how they, know Kochanski even, knows that this would exist. I suppose, theoretically, her crew back in the universe that she comes from.
She's technically from a different... Well, I think even if they'd have just had one line, because obviously this Kochanski is from a different, was it dimension or something like... So even if she'd said, from... just a line to tie it.
Everything is opposite. That was the whole thing of this mirror thing. So it's just
it does
really
just
weird.
happen. It does just happen.
It's plot convenience. They needed it to happen, so it happened. But it's... Well,
I wonder if it was you wonder if they wrote it chronologically and then thought, right, oh God, we've got 5 minutes left. We need to do something. Or did they have this, this end game first and then couldn't?
I was going to bring this up at the end because there were various ways this series could have ended. And actually, this wasn't one of the ways. Was that this wasn't the original plot of going to be the plot of the final episode. They just didn't have enough budget to do the episode they wanted to make. So
now it all makes sense.
Potentially, this got made at the last minute, although it doesn't say that specifically in the information I've got. That I don't know how long they took to write this, but theoretically, if they had to change last minute because they didn't have enough money left over, and where was it in the IMDb trivia that it says this, that because they were originally going to do an episode where they get back to Earth, and that's coming, but here we go. The original planned finale was a 2-part episode titled Earth, and it was to have Red Dwarf crew arrive back at Earth only for the ship to accidentally destroy the world's major landmarks. The idea was discarded due to budget limitations, Doug Naylor would blame the expensive special effects in Pete as the cause of the lack of budget for Earth.
Oh, Pete.
So if it was because of the excessive budget in Pete, it must be quite late on in the production process that they realized they wouldn't have enough money for Earth, I guess. So maybe.
Well, it's a shame, really, because I think we said last week, like, Pete, I think, did we both agree it could have easily been one, like, 45-minute episode rather than 2 half-an-hour episodes? So it does make you wonder. But I guess the late 90s, though, as well, was a time where a lot of TV companies wanted to show they could do, like, Hollywood-style CG, I guess, at least shows that did that kind of effect. So maybe that was at the time, maybe they thought, we want to prioritize that over, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, that does make a lot of sense, though, because whilst this episode, on the whole, I'd argue, doesn't feel like a rush job, this bit about the mirror, this feels like a rush job. This feels very out of nowhere. But moving on with it, so they activate it, Rimmer goes through, and then there's a conveniently placed malfunction. I don't think they even say why it malfunctions, it just does, because, plot. So Rimmer is stuck in the mirror universe, to which when there's a knock on the door, he just knows to get in Captain Hollister's bed, because he's not... Do you know, this is what I mean.
Like, the whole premise is that it ends up being that he's the captain on this ship. And that it's Captain Hollister that is the prisoner that is now on probation, which is weird because nobody else has the direct swap like that.
Yeah, but is that only because of what we saw at the start of the episode thing? Is that why they did it? Like,
it mirrors, and then they have this scene which mirrors the scene from the beginning where instead of him coming in to Captain Hollister in bed, it's Captain Hollister coming into him in bed, and even Talia walks in.
We do get another we get a penis joke, which the minute he did it, I thought, right, okay.
Of course, yeah, because when he realizes that everything is the opposite, he looks down.
Yeah,
and...
which that was like a groaner joke for me. Maybe it's my age or something, but I don't know. I was like, come on, like, do it. I don't know. Didn't work. Wasn't for me. But I'm sure some people would have liked it. You're right though. Talia does come back. To which Rimmer instantly thinks, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna try my luck." Well, in fact, no, he doesn't even ask. He just sort of just pulls her into a kiss, which you could debate the ethics of that. But to which then she pulls back and says, "I'm your sister," which then you think, "Oh, okay." To which then he feigns fainting, waking up from a dream, and saying, "Oh, it's your bro. Come and give me a hug." To which then she says that, "I'm your sister, like your personal sister, your spiritual counselor."
Yeah,
like that. Which just seems really, like, I get it, but it just seems really random. Like, but is it implied Talia in our universe?
He's also
do we know what
Captain Hollister?
No, but for like the opposite. So what is she in our? Do we know what she is in relation?
No.
Obviously, it's like they do kiss, don't they? Do they kiss? No.
No.
She just arrives.
Yeah.
And we know she's someone from his past.
Yeah.
But we don't know
I guess
who.
she could be that, but then that wouldn't. But then the whole opposites thing is so inconsistent.
Yeah, like what the opposite of your girlfriend is a spiritual advisor.
But then maybe she is just a spiritual advisor in the Prime universe as well, because they're just not consistent with the logic of what's opposite and what's not.
It's very odd. It's very, very odd. But he explores the ship. He finds Kachansky is a receptionist or a secretary. Kat's a professor, which I thought Danny John Jules looked quite good as a professor.
Yeah, and actually, this is another one of the bits I quite liked from him as well. He got a chance to do something else. Yeah, it was quite nice. Got
that long name to say, which he said really quick and really well.
Apparently, despite the fact that he was notorious on set for forgetting his lines, apparently, but he was the only cast member able to say that formula. Which, although I have it written down in front of me, I don't think I'm going to attempt.
You're not even going to attempt.
No, it's too no.
Well, props to him for that. I liked it. Not as iconic as Dwayne Dibley, of course, but what can top Dwayne Dibley, the Duke of Dork? But but whilst this is going on, so he obtains the formula and he comes back to our universe, the Prime universe. But everything's failing. Everything's on fire. The ship's being torn apart. Everyone's gone except the vending machine. Which I was like, yes, of course, the vending machine. It basically says, "Oh, congrats, you've basically become captain." Lovely snarky remark,
which calls back to earlier on, because he did say something about I'll next at some point. Rimmer said to the vending machine, "Oh, I'll be captain when something will happen."
Yes,
and he is,
and sure enough, he is. But in an uncharacteristically Rimmer moment, he does look at that mirror universe again. He looks at that mirror and thinks... Although he looks at the mirror, which is still like pulsating, implying that it's on. Do you know what I mean? He can go through it. But then he looks at the machine that generates it, which is still frazzled. So that confused me because, because we see him go through and the machine malfunctions, so Kachansky can't go through. They're like, oh, he's trapped. But then he comes back, obviously, a bit later on when no one's there. But there's a shot where the vending machine's told him, everything's gone to pot, basically. And he looks at the formula, and then there's a shot, he looks at the mirror, which is like pulsating.
Is it still pulsating then?
I swear it was. I could be wrong. People in the comments let me know. But he looks at the mirror, implying that, he's thinking about that universe. But then I like that he doesn't, if it is on, he doesn't go back to it. He sort of sticks around, and he's talking about, I need to fix the formula. I need to sort it out. You'll have to let me know in the comments.
So here's what
folks,
I think happened. Because I followed the events and thought something different was happening to
go for it.
So he comes back through. So it malfunctions just after he's gone through the first time into the mirror universe. So the rest can't follow him. But I don't think it's malfunctioned as in it's the state you see it in later. Right. So I think the rest of the crew fix it while he's doing whatever he's doing in the mirror universe, and they escape to the mirror universe. Meanwhile, he doesn't cross paths with them while he's in that universe, and that he comes back and goes off, talks to the vending machine, finds out that they've gone, comes back into the room, but by that point, the microbes have destroyed the machine.
Right.
The microbes that are destroying the rest of the ship have now destroyed that machine, and
that makes more sense. Yeah.
That's what I think happened.
You're probably right. I might be having the Mandela effect and misremembering certain shots. But he's committed to going to the lab. He's going to make this antidote. But then the vending machine, his arch nemesis, decries it's all for naught, because now that he's back in our universe and the opposites have reversed, rather than providing the antidote, that formula will create the virus or spur it on. And then this leads into the ending. And I've got to admit, at first, Phil, I really liked the setup. The fact, obviously it was funny when the can, every dog has its day, and he shoots Rimmer with a can and knocks him over, and he says, "And I'm the dog." That made me laugh. But then Adagio for strings starts to play, which, of course, for those who don't know, is a very famous bit of music used in films like Platoon, I think it was used in, which was about the Vietnam War. It's used in several things, and I believe it was originally made, I could be wrong, but I believe that piece of music was originally made for John F. Kennedy's funeral. Which makes sense. Very, very sad event, very sad bit of music. So this music plays, the formula is burning on the floor. You get some great shots of like Rimmer sort of dazed, like looking around at everything just falling apart. And then the Grim Reaper confronts him during all this, saying that, your time has come, sort of thing. And had it ended sort of on that same note, on that more, not serious, but like that more somber note, basically.
Yep.
Say, had it ended with the Grim Reaper taking him off, and then it fades to black or whatever, or you see the ship destroy, whatever it is, I would have quite liked that, really, as a sort of cliffhanger ending. Because you could argue that's more finite, but then it's Red Dwarf, anything can happen. But then, and it did make me laugh, the Grim Reaper's giving him the spiel, and Rimmer just decides to knee him in the nuts, which the Grim Reaper says has never happened before. Rimmer says, "Only the good die young," hence the title. Thank you. I did wonder what the title meant, but there you go. And then he just sort of runs out of frame, and then the episode ends.
Yeah, and it comes up, the end.
And then it says, the end, the smeg it is.
Yeah.
So,
it would end up being the end for 10 years. I think at this point they were planning on doing a movie, which never came to
Right.
fruition. So I think that was what that was hinting
That
at.
But what do you think of just this ending just as an ending, if you like,
Well,
regardless of
what I think it's quite actually I like most of it, and I think it has echoes of that series series 6, and is it series 6 ending?
yes, where he's running to activate the
The time
was it?
drive.
Yeah.
And
Yes, yeah.
it's him again, it's the music, and it's him trying to find a way to save them from this desperate situation. So it's very similar to that. And again, after that, we had the stupid 3-year wait, and now this time we had a 10-year wait.
Yes.
So if they ever do this again, I'm going to be like, well, there's clearly not going to be an episode for a long time. And
it's a long hiatus. Yeah. So you were happy with like the whole setup of it, the knee and the Grim Reaper in the nuts and all that?
Yeah, I liked it, and it's absolutely what Rim would have done, and I think it's a funny way to end it. Talking of alternatives, because I was going to come back to this, there was a second ending shot where Rimmer does die. So that ending that you wanted, that was shot, apparently.
Oh, is that on the deleted scenes?
I don't know. It doesn't say that on here. Again, this is all on the IMDb trivia section. It is editable by anyone, so take it with a pinch of salt.
I'll have to go on the Blu-ray and have a look, because if it is, I'd be really curious to see that.
Yeah, but it was deemed too sad, so they did not use it.
But I mean, I don't know about the fact. Obviously, Red Dwarf is a comedy, like at its core. Like, I'm not saying it needs to be this, like, big, dramatic, serious thing. But I don't know, just after, because it almost felt like, I guess because we're watching this in order as well, it just felt like after everything they've all gone through, they've survived this, that, and the other, losing Red Dwarf, coming back to Red Dwarf, being thrown in the tank, going through all this stuff. And then for Rimmer to like be on it, everyone's gone. And it doesn't explain whether they've fled or whether they've died, the other cast members, the leads. And I mean, obviously we know there's more episodes, so but at the time I'm imagining it wasn't confirmed. So just the fact that Rimmer's come back all on his own, everything's falling apart, and there's no hope base. I don't know. I'm more in favour of that somber ending. Just personally, to be honest. There were other endings talked about. Obviously, we've already discussed the whole episode being different, but also the ending to this one. There was a potential, according to IMDb trivia, an ending planned in which Rimmer's alter ego Ace Rimmer returns, potentially saving himself at the end. Which will tie into. We'll talk. Actually, I'm going to save that discussion topic for when we do Back to Earth. All right, as
a mysterious thing that I will leave you wondering. And I'm sure there was some more as well. Oh yes, there was another ending that I think definitely is on the DVD as an alternative ending, because they filmed. Where is it? In the original filmed... Here we go. In the original filmed ending, Rimmer successfully remembers the completed name of the antidote to the microbe that is eating the ship, and Crichton uses it to save the ship. Rimmer takes up residence in the captain's quarters as they celebrate being alone on the ship and no longer imprisoned because everyone else is evacuated. And Captain Hollister is shown looking on from his blue midget. Crichton asks Rimmer if they should slow down Red Dwarf so the rest of the crew can come aboard, and Rimmer, in reference to Horatio Nelson at the Battle of Copenhagen in 1801, replies, "Full speed ahead, Mr. Crichton. I see no ships."
Nice.
That's
quite a triumphant ending, I suppose.
And it can be seen on the Series 8 DVD collection. So
I'll have to go back and look. I do hope that original the ending that's more sad, I do hope that is available to watch, because I'd be really curious to see how they dealt with that. I do get, though, maybe why they didn't go with that. Like, maybe it's too, like, they maybe thought, oh, that's too finite of an ending, like, sort of maybe shreds all hope that there'll be more. But then, by this point, this is Red Dwarf. Like, they could easily just fob it off and say, it was the end, but now it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I'll have to check the Blu-ray. But that, folks, is Only the Good, the final episode of the BBC era of the show, which is crazy. We've hit the end of the first era, Phil.
It is.
So we'll do our regular segments for the last time of the BBC era. Who was your favourite character in this then?
My favourite character was the dispensing machine. His whole attitude was great. I love the voice that the guy did for it. The fact that he's determined to be the nemesis.
Yes, good choice. I almost went for Ackerman, but I also went for the dispensing machine. Just like you said, everything about him, personality, a lot of the lines he had. Even his role at the end in that final scene, I like the comedy he provided there. That was good. So yeah, big up as if the last one of our BBC era is the vending machine. It's not even the mains, it's the vending machine.
Yeah, none of the main cast, not even any of the human guest cast. It's the
Sorry
vending
guys,
machine.
It's the vending machine. What about your funniest moment then?
So my funniest moment is actually a Holly moment, which we haven't actually mentioned, but it's one joke from Holly when he's talking about because he's hacked the computer. And that's how he found out that there was going to be an inspection.
Yeah, it's hot gossip.
And he's also taken a look at the what supplies are on the ship. And I don't know why, but it made me crack up so much when he says,
I've also managed to get a goosey at the supplies inventory. I've discovered stuff in there that'll make your hair stand on end.
What stuff?
Brill cream, it's called.
Yes,
and
I remember that. Yeah,
I genuinely think that is the most I've laughed this entire series.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That one-liner from
I don't
Holly?
know.
No way.
Oh, it's just his delivery on it. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Good way for Norman Lovett to go out then of this era, clearly.
Yeah.
A line like that. For me, it might seem obvious, it was the scene of the lads drinking the hooch and the reaction. Just perfect physical comedy, great reactions, great timing, great pacing. Despite it being one of the longest scenes of the episode, I really liked it because it was just all great. So nice one to go out on. But what about your final rating then out of 10 for this?
See, I like a lot of the episode, and there is some good comedy in there. I think the mirror universe bits let it down a bit.
Yeah. Is that because of like how seemingly like quick it is?
Yeah, and just out of nowhere, and it's
because
really
there's no
random.
Setup either.
Yeah,
really.
There's no setup. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. The fact that they've randomly just have this machine lying around, and also like the whole scene with Rimmer being the captain in the quarters just didn't really work for me. So I mean, it got better again once he came back, and that I like that whole ending with the ship falling apart and everyone else had already gone, and the vending machine stuff again, and all that I like, and death. And all that, Grim Reaper, but just that middle bit when he's actually in the mirror universe kind of lets it down a bit. It would have been a bit higher, I think, had it not been for that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it. What am I gonna give it?
Oh,
I'm torn. I'm gonna give it a. I'm torn between 6.5 and 7.
Okay. Do you know what? That's exactly what I'm torn between.
Okay. There we go.
Well, you say yours first then, and then that might.
I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to be generous and give it a 7.
Okay. That's fair. Well, I'm going with my gut instinct. I know I'm saying deliberating it, but I try and go with my gut, so I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Fair enough.
A lot of the reasons you said as well. There was a lot to like, I think. A lot of the jokes, like I said, the hooch scene. The first chunk of Cat standing up to that guy, as I went a bit too long after the twist, but a lot of that I thought was quite good. The ending, really liked, and I didn't dislike how it ended with like a comedy joke, but as I said, I kind of wanted it to go another way, just personally for me. Not the big finale I wasn't say hoping for. I just thought because this was the end of Series 8, and like you said, when they made it. Like I said, they might have been trying to make a film afterwards, or I don't know if they were thinking we're going to do another series. But I guess in my head, I probably thought it was going to be a bit grander, might be the word, or a bit more than what it was. I know it was only one episode, so I wasn't expecting a big 3-part finale. But I don't know, I think I was expecting something a little bit different. There were a lot of scenes where I thought, this is the final episode of this series, and it just feels like any other. Like, oh, it's the goings on of the crew. Do you know what I mean? It didn't feel like it was building to anything until the mirror stuff comes in. But then it's just there, and you're like, oh right, now we're doing the finale story, are we? In the last 5 minutes. So yeah, 6.5 for me. Not the worst, but not the best. Fair enough. That is the end of Only the Good. The end of the BBC era.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
we're going to be doing some, before we move on to the next era and Back to Earth, the infamous Back to Earth, we're going to be doing a few specials.
Yes.
We're going to be
Yes, we
talking
will.
about one of the first novel, Infinity Welcomes, Careful Drivers, maybe a couple of other specials. We might do a Q&A if we've got enough questions.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure you guys have questions for us, surely.
And yeah, so we're going to be doing that sort of stuff next. And then we will get to Back to Earth.
Which you say infamous, that mate. What? Dare I ask why infamous, or are we going to save that for the?
We'll save it. We'll save it
for when the time comes.
Yeah, we haven't decided how we're doing it yet either, are we? Because it was kind of broadcast as 3 episodes, but I think you can also watch it as like one long TV movie.
I was going to say, is it all like one story, like Back in the Red, but in 3 parts?
Yeah. So I don't know how we're going to cover that yet. It might be too long to do it just as.
Are they regular length like 25, 30 minutes?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Maybe we'll have a talk, but maybe if they're like regular length, maybe we could. But if they're like an hour each, then yeah, I think we probably have to like do that on its own. But
yeah,
you'll find out, dear listener, whenever it comes out. You'll realize how we've decided to do it. But in the meantime, Phil, where can the listeners find you then?
You can find me at my YouTube channel, which you may be watching this on already, potentially, which is just my name, Philip Hawkins. Nice and easy to find. And you can also find me on Twitter at CultureFilter, but filter spelt PHILTER, like Phil, like my name.
You see what he did there? Very clever, very good. And for myself, it's just Adam Martyn on YouTube, Martyn with a Y, and Adam Martyn AMTV on Twitter. And also, for the podcast, we're on Spotify and various other audio platforms, I believe, aren't we?
We are indeed. We're on all the usual podcast platforms.
Yeah. Spotify, Apple Music, all that jazz. You also, as Phil said, on YouTube, on his channel, so you can go and check us out there. You can leave your comments there. It's the one place you can leave comments. We'd love to hear your feedback, anything we've missed, anything I say we, probably me, anything I've said that's just blatantly incorrect. Please feel free to correct me. And yeah, if you've got any questions, as we love to hear them at some point as well. And also, if you want to pick up some Everybody's Dead Dave merch, we do have a merch store, which will be in the description of Phil's YouTube video. You can get all your wares there. And yeah, this just feels weird, Phil. This feels like the end of a big chapter of this journey that we're doing here.
Yeah.
So,
that's another one of the specials we're going to do. We're going to do a ranking of every episode from the BBC era. So
that's 52 episodes.
Yeah.
See if we remember our ratings. It'll probably be completely different, won't it?
Yeah, probably.
You watch, we'll put Body Swap at number 1. We'll finally realise the error of our ways. But just before we sign off, I just want to ask personally, for you then, Phil, as someone who say, you've watched this show for many a year, what has it been like going back through the BBC era for the last year and a bit?
It's been really good. It's great to revisit it, because I think the last time I rewatched these all was probably when I bought them on DVD. When they were first released on DVD, which was around about sort of between 2005 and 2008, I think.
Ooh.
So it's been a long time since I've seen these.
Has it all held up as you had remembered it?
Some of it, yeah. Some of it, mixture. Some of it didn't hold up as much as my memories of it. Some of it was surprisingly better. Some episodes which I thought would be worse were better. Some episodes which I thought were in my head were amazing, were not bad, just not as good as I remembered them being. So kind of a mix. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got to say, from my perspective, as someone who over a year and a bit ago had never seen any Red Dwarf, made a few images, a few teaser clips on trailers here and there, as someone who had as I said to you at the beginning, as someone who had no expectation of what this little quirky sci-fi comedy was, it's been a ride, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every episode, even the ones that I don't think are as good. I've still enjoyed watching it, and I'm now glad to be on this journey, continuing it. Can I call myself a fan yet, or do I need to finish everything first?
Yeah, of course you can. You're a fan as soon as you start enjoying it and want to continue watching it.
Relative newbie, no more.
Well, you're a fan, but you're still a relative newbie.
I'll take.
You'll always be a relative newbie.
I will. I'll take that. That's fine.
You have to carry on being a relative newbie because we want to release merch of it. So, you know.
That is, yes, yeah. I'll forever be that. Don't worry. That's fine. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. If you've been with us since the beginning, thank you for joining us through the BBC era. And we will see you next time for the run of special episodes and then later the Dave era. So until then, we'll see you later.
Goodbye.